Hi crafty friends, it's Annie from Vintage Lace Journal, and a big welcome to you all my new subscribers, my old subscribers, and anyone who's just come along for the ride. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous tag. Now from now on I am going to do Tag Time Tuesday. Every Tuesday I'm going to be uploading a new tag project that you can have a go at. So this is my very first Tag Time Tuesday. So it's going to be a hashtag. So if you follow along and make anything, then you can obviously put your hashtag as Tag Time Tuesday as well, and I should be able to see what you've made. Now this tag is a large tag that I've stamped on the back and the front, and then I've attached these two smaller tags on the front, and then these open up for a pocket on the inside, and again there's two more tags in there with a little pocket in the middle. Now I've kept this quite simple as a theme. I've just kept it as craft cardstock with just black and some red inks and a little bit of colour on this mushroom stamp here. So lots of stamping. The only other thing I've used on here is these are from a digi-kit, I think that's what you call them. I wanted some new tags, numbers and things like that. So I used this kit from the Junk Journal Studio, which is on Etsy, and it had absolutely loads and loads of these different kind of tags, and you print them out onto copy paper or sticker paper and print them off. They also have these wonderful beautiful birds. This is just a couple of pages, and then all these different butterflies as well. So I don't often buy digi-kits, but the things that I use the most, obviously like butterflies, birds and these little numbers and things, are really useful to have in your kit. So I'll link her shop below, not affiliated in any way, just a shop that I came across that I really loved. So I'm going to pop those back into there. That then closes up again, and we've just got a bit of twine to close that up. And I just love the design of this. This can be stuck inside a journal. Often if you have a front cover of a journal, it's quite the thicker page, that would sit quite nicely in there. If you didn't want to stick it in a journal, obviously you could put another pocket on the back. I'm going to be doing a different binding today. Instead of using this, which was this jute ribbon, this just came from the range, I'm going to be using some washi tape instead. So there's different ways you can add this together. So this was glue gunned on, because obviously it's that kind of, what would you say, it really wouldn't stick with any other kind of glue. I think the only way that would stick would just be with hot glue. Okay, so let's get started with our tag. So the main tag, you are going to need a piece of cardstock, and I'm using craft cardstock, but obviously you can use any kind of colour and design you want to do. So my large tag is 3.5 by 6 inches. So 6 inches long by 3.5 inches wide. There we go. And this is quite recycled craft stock, nothing fancy. Then my two smaller tags, I'm going to use this part here to make sure that's tall enough, are four and 1/8. So 4 and 1/8, and that's the length, by 1 and 1/8 wide. That doesn't look right. That's because it's not. They are. Good job I measured that. So 4 and 1/8 down, and then 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. I will put the as always, I always put my measurements down below in my description, so I will put that. So it's 1 and 5/8, so a half, and then one more across. You know, you can look at something and thinking that looks too small. Okay, and they are the parts that create the door there, and that is the part that creates the large back part. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I have made, she says, put it down, 1 minute. I have made one of these. Now, I saw Kerry the Crafter do this, so I got my idea from here. I'll link his channel below. Fantastic guy, loads of creative ideas. And what he did was get one of these, which is a store card or anything like that, and he cut the angles that you would need to make tags onto those. And the reason why you do that is because when you make a tag, as I'll show you here, you line the top up there and the side to there, and then you cut along. Now, because this is thick, like store card material, you can't really cut through it. And instead of having to find that little bit, turn it over, all you do is take your store card, flip it over the other way, and you know that that is going to measure exactly the same on both sides. Okay, so that's a really, really good tip from Kerry the Crafter, along with other things. So I now know that both my tags sides will be exactly the same because I've used that. Okay, and then down the bottom here I cut a slightly smaller one, so that's quite a large angle that I do on my bigger tags, and this one is a smaller one, therefore I can use it on smaller type cards. So lining all those up and snip, and then again just turn it over to do the opposite side. Wanting to make one of these for ages, but just haven't got around to it. And again, both those sides are going to be exactly identical. Okay, so that's a really good tip if you do lots of tags. And obviously if you're going to join in with my Tag Time Tuesday, you'll be making lots of tags with me. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, as I did on here, is I'm going to ink around the edges. Now, I did a brown ink first. I went in with a vintage photo distress ink and went over quite a lot of the edge, so I came in quite far. Then I went over again with a black ink and just caught the edges. So you can see it's brown here and then it's just black on the edges. So I'll just show you how I did this on one, and then I'll do the rest off camera because you don't need to see me do all of that inking. So I use these wooden ones, obviously with the different pads on the end. So first of all, I'm going to go in with my brown ink. And can you see how I'm going over quite a way in, because craft card's quite a plain colour. And it just kind of like brings the edges in. Okay, so it gives that kind of effect. So you've got that dull bit in the middle. And then with my black ink, so when I do black ink, I'm just going to brush away, so on and away. And that just gives that kind of, just picking up just the very edge this time, because I've got lots of black inking on here. Okay, so can you see there I've got the brown in there and the black in there. So I'm just going to go with that process with my other tags. So there we have our one large tag and our two smaller tags. Now the next thing I'm going to do is going to do my stamping. So I've got a large acrylic block. Obviously you can use whichever stamping platform you use. And on the outside of these two smaller tags, I'm going to use a script stamp. So script stamps come like this, and you can't actually read what it says. I read a really funny review on a craft site the other day and said this stamp arrived and I couldn't read what it said. That's the whole idea of these stamps. They're just kind of like a script. You don't really need to read what it says. Now on this one, I've done it in black and inked over the top. I'm going to do it in brown this time just to see what it looks like, because I'm going to see if the stamps I then stamp on top with come through a bit clearer. So this could go dramatically wrong. But as we all know, there's no mistakes in craft because we just cover it up. I actually quite like that. Quite subtle. There we go. So it just gives that look of script without you actually having to be able to read what it says. So this one I'm using is Vintage Photo. It's one of the darker Tim Holtz dyes. Ink pads, sorry. And then just over again. There. Now the next thing I did on these was I went over, and obviously this is where you can bring your craft stash in. I've got ticket stamps to go on here, and then these stamps I'm going to be using within this project are these fantastic new stamp sets from Sam Poole. And again, I'm not being paid to say this, I'm not affiliated with anything, I just love these. So they're called the Botanical range. This one's Meadow Beauty, and this one is Snippets of Nature, and I just fell in love with these. I thought they were absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to use them to stamp on. So first of all, before I do that, I'm just going to use one of these. These were from Amazon, I think. So again, just popping that on my acrylic block. I always use this one. I don't know if it's a right ink. I always get confused with inks. Is it water-based, not water-based? I just use this ink because it's in my stash. I'm sure there's inks for different jobs, but it doesn't come off, so that's fine. So again, on this one, just pop the stamp down. And again, a little bit on top. I tend to use just a wet wipe on my stamps. I do wet wipes rather than keep using new ones. I just put some water on them again. But I do tend to try and clean my stamps as soon as I've used them, put them back. Otherwise, I just lose things. I'm terrible. And they don't get washed. Okay, and then I'm going to go on in this one as well. So on this stamp set, they've got these little numbers. So I'm going to use some of those. And I've got a red ink. This is just a chalk ink I picked up at my local shop, craft shop, Deco Time. So I'm just going to go in. And it just picks up a different kind of colour. It's not too dark. And then I'm going to use one of the flowers from the stamp set as well. And just pop that on that right edge. There we go. So it just brings a little bit of colour to all that black. Now on this side, again, I'm going to use those same stamps from Sam Poole. This time I'm going to use this set. I'm going to use this mushroom. Absolutely love it. Mushrooms seem to be all the thing again at the minute. Keep seeing lots of projects with them mushrooms on. So again, I'm going to use a black ink over the brown. There we go. Let's give that a quick wipe. Now a good tip for you here, which I've picked up, is I'm going to just get my ink pad and just push it down onto my acrylic block. And then I've got one of these pens, which is the one that holds the water in it, or you can just use an ordinary paintbrush. And I'm just going to go in with that. Sorry about the glare from my light, there's nothing I can do about that, I'm afraid. Just move that out of the way. So I've just picked up that ink and I'm just going to go over on this mushroom, just on that very top bit there. Just to pick up a little bit of the colour. So ink pads are really good, not just for stamping with, but you can also use as a kind of like watercolour. And that's just giving that mushroom a little bit of red. And obviously it's not a waterproof pad, so it's just spread that black just a little bit, but I don't mind that. Okay, and now I'm going to come back in with, my little stamps with my numbers. And there's another little word that says specimen number. And just build up your stamps however you want to on your design. Just going to have another red one. Just in these spaces. I don't think that's enough. So that is the two front sections done. The last thing I'm going to do is just going to go round these with a black fine liner. Okay, so this is 0.7. You can stitch it if you want to stitch all around these. I'm just going to go round and do fake stitching with a black pen. It doesn't matter if you don't have a steady hand, because I don't think stitching would be overly straight. I don't know if you've been seeing my shorts I've been uploading as well. So I've been taking part in Junk Journal July. So today is day 4. It's been such good fun. It gives me something else to focus my crafty brain on. So go and have a look at those little shorts, all different kind of things, different mixed medias, and all sorts of things if you're interested in that type of art. If not, sometimes it's just fun to watch something different. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is on my front 2 pieces, I'm going to punch holes and I'm going to put in these little metal ringlets. So this time I've chosen gold. And I'm going to do these together at the same time. Now I'm going to, don't want it to go through my mushroom, so I'm going to put these 2 together. I'm going to have that as my left panel, that's my right panel. So I'm going to put those 2 together so the holes are in the same place. I'm going to come in with my ancient hole punch and punch my hole. About there. So I now know that these will both be on the same size. Just remembering before I go any further, I am just going to stamp the inside, just because when you open this up you don't want that blank on the back. So all I did was I changed my script stamp to a music stamp. I would say to you, if you're new to crafting and you want to add to your supplies, a music stamp and a script stamp personally are ones that I use all the time. I just find they're really handy as generic backgrounds. So I'm just going to use black this time. And then, whoop, that was nearly an accident. Put them together. It's not very, it's lost its stick, this one. Okay, before I make a complete mess of this. If you've got any tips of how to make your stamps sticky again, please do let me know in the comments, because this has lost the stick on the back. I'm sure you can, I'm sure there was something called stick and spray or stick and stay. Perhaps I just need to give it a good wash. There we go. So that's just given those backs a bit of interest, and I'm now covered in ink. What's crafting without a bit of mess, hey? Let me just clear this up before I do actually contaminate my whole project. I did have to laugh when we say there's no such thing as a tidy crafter, clean crafter, sane crafter. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is pop my eyelets into these. So pop that one in and then just set it shut. There we go. So that's now like that on the back. And same for this one. Pop it in. And push shut. There we go. So that's our 2 front tags made for our front doors to our main tag. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and decorate the inside. I'm just going to move this up a little bit of the main tag. So on the main tag again, I chose to use the script. So I'm just going to give this a quick clean because I want to do it in brown this time, not black. Let's see if you're going to stick. That's better. Just wipe the back. I think it was just covered in a bit of mess. Okay, so again I'm using Vintage Photo, one of the darker Tim Holtz pads. Walnut Stain's another one that's quite dark. There we go. And then again, so just about that much. The good thing about this is because it's lined, you can get away with doing a join. There we go, give it a good push. So there's the inside of the tag. And what I did as well is I created in this one is a little pocket. So with some of the craft paper, I've just gone ahead and created a little pocket. This one measures 1 3/4 inches, obviously by the 3.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to trim that down. There we go, and just pop my ink around the edges. And that black just lifts that up. Oh, nearly put my black ink pad in my brown then. So a bit of a tidy up. Okay, now at the top of here, like I do with most pockets, I'm just going to get my 1-inch punch, turn it over, and just eyeball from either side a little pocket notch, and then I'm going to attach that just by adding some glue down the 2 edges. Again, if you're new to crafting, I would recommend these little bottles. I've been crafting for a long time, finally got myself some, and that little fine precision end is a godsend. For someone that's messy and clumsy like me, brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to attach that on there. And I always use a quick drying glue, a quick tack glue. So at the minute I'm trying this one, which I quite like actually. High tack, fast glue, fast drying. So obviously when you're doing projects, especially if you're videoing things, it just grabs quicker. Okay, so that's that bit done. Just remember to pop this little needle back in, otherwise you clog your end up and you can't get your glue out at all. Okay, so next thing I did was a little bit more stamping, on my this one. And then I also cut out some of these things from the kit that I told you about from the Junk Journal Studio. So I'm going to choose I'm going to have this stamp, and I'm going to stamp up this area here because obviously that's dead space at the moment. So because I've done my background in black, brown, I'm doing my stamping in black. I'm going to put it this side actually because I think it lends itself more to this edge because of the design that goes around there. There we go. I'm going to bring in my labels again. So I'm going to choose, I have some nice little stamps. Quite like these little stamps, so I'm just going to cut. What have we got there? Let's have the bird. Now because this is printed on white paper, I'll show you a little tip that I use so this blends in with my project. So because it's been kind of like made to look old anyway, I'm just going to bring in my acrylic block and just get my brown, and all I'm going to do is just bring that over the sides, and can you see how that just takes away that white? If you try and do it that way, it won't work because it's paper, so it will fray, will rip, and that's just taken away all of those white edges. Just pop them out of the way. And I'm just going to get my glue stick. There we go. Now I'm going to pop that, I think, there. There we go. And then this last section here, I'm going to choose a butterfly this time. So on this one I chose an owl, and this time I'm going to choose a butterfly. So I think this one would be perfect. Or shall I have that one? I quite like that one actually. So I'm just going to fussy cut out this butterfly just to pop on there. There we go. Just accidentally ripped its head off. Oh well. There we go. At least I'll give him some antennas back, even though I ripped his head off. Okay, now for the top of this, I'm not going to put a hole in here. I am going to use a piece of lace. And all I'm going to do is get my hot glue gun, and I'm going to attach on the top here and on the back there, and that creates that little tab look, and it just kind of fits in with the whole vintage look. So I'm just going to get my glue gun onto that and I'll be back. So there we go, that's just been hot glue gun onto the top of there. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go round again with my black fine liner, just to mimic stitching. Again, you can stitch this if you are confident with a sewing machine, or if you don't want to put a black line round at all, you don't have to. There we go. Another little thing I've got is just one of those, another one of those numbers. And I'm just going to pop that in that blank space down here. I think that needed a little something there. That's better. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 tags, because on the inside of this I'm just going to decorate some tags. So the first thing I'm going to do is just come in with our script, and I'm just going to put brown ink again on the back. And then just choose another couple of those stamps just to go over onto the front. There we go. So I'm going to choose this one here. So again, black ink, which should show up nicely on the brown. Give it a really good press. Craft card is quite absorbent. There we go for that one. And I'm just going to tie this in a bow, or you can snip them to make them smaller, but I quite like the little bow look. And then second one. Just got this bee. There we go. And again, you could add more little stamps on here, less little stamps on here. You could put stickers on them, whatever you fancy. I love seeing how people take a project and then create it, make it to be their own. It just always looks so fabulous. So they go into there like that. Okay. Now, next bit. Just trying to make sure I've done everything. I've got my pocket, got my tags, got my decoration, got my tab. I am going to go on to attaching these bits front to the back. Now, like I said before, I use this kind of like jute hessian kind of tag this time. However, this time I'm doing it, I'm going to try something different, because not everybody has that, but everyone seems to have washi tape. Okay, it's going to come out just a little bit. Just pop those out. So I'm going to bring back in my doors. Now to do this, you have to do them one at a time. So you line up your door at the bottom and make sure it's lined up at the side. Now, even though this is washi tape, I am going to also put some glue on it as well, because washi tape's not always the most reliable to stick. So I'm going to think it roughly needs to be that on this side, and same for the other side. And I don't want to rip it, I want it to be a nice straight edge. Now, when you stick this as well, you need to make sure that you're giving yourself some what we call wiggle room. So obviously making sure that that is going to be able to be closed. So I'm going to lay this down here, and I'm going to lay it, can you see there's a slight gap there? Really tiny little gap. Okay, and I'm going to pop my tape onto this one first, and then onto the back, and then do the same again for the bottom. So I'm not going to go right over that because I don't want to lose my mushroom. And there we have a little flappy door. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the other side. So leave this one open so I can see where I've stuck my tape, so it looks symmetrical on both sides. think I forgot to put my glue on that side. Okay, so line it up with the other side and stick. Line it up and stick. Give it a good push down. There we go. Okay, that hasn't lined up. That one's slightly dropped, so I'm going to pull that off. Luckily, I didn't glue it. Must have known I was going to do something wrong. Okay, let's try that again. That's better. What I forgot to do is stamp on the back. So I'm just going to grab my musical note one, and actually this will cover the washi tape. It doesn't have to cover the washi tape, but I just didn't want to leave the back black plain. Don't think that's going to go over that lace part. There we go, a bit over there, but it doesn't matter. So what you need to do is make sure before you put your lace on is to stamp the back as you want it. There we go. So the last thing I'm going to do is to get a piece of twine. This is just ordinary garden twine. You could use ribbon or a thin piece of lace. And that just simply goes through one, through the other. Oops, don't forget to put your tags in. And then when you pull this shut, it pulls everything together. And there we have it. So there's one I made. Here's one I made earlier with my little tags. So this one was with black ink. This one has got the brown ink on the back. And open it up. For our little tags inside. So my first Tag Time Tuesday is done. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether you're going to be tagging along on Tuesdays and whether you're going to have a go at making this project. So it's super easy, super quick. I'll put all the measurements below, and I'll also tag all the people that I've mentioned in my video as well. Julie from Carnation Crafts often does that, which I think is a really, really good idea. Is actually saying or giving credit to the people obviously that you've spoken about who help you in your own videos. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.